It's like nobody's out on the streets, and that's
You
how
know the
you could.
voice. You hear that voice that's there, stay down. That's Sergeant Snyder.
I'm gonna get shot.
Get down. Get down.
Welcome back to Operation Intel Veteran Stories. You know, there's not often times where I get excited about a person that to be honest with you, I get excited about all the interviews. A lot of the stories I get to hear, I've already heard before. This guy has stories that I don't know about because he was in the other platoon. I am super excited about today's guest, Michael Ferrell. How have you been?
Tim, I've been pretty well, man. It's good to talk to you. It's good to see you.
It's good seeing you, man. You know, we're in the same group chat. If you guys, you know, you hear about it all the time with, you probably heard it on the rally point. We talk a lot about the groups, but it is really like done a great job at seeing these guys face to face and catching up with these guys. What have you thought about everything that's going on, man?
Dude, to be honest with you, like, it feels good, man. And it's hilarious. Like that the same personality types and the same attitudes are still there. We're like grown and a little more gray.
Right.
It's like when I read down through, like I can hear them saying it as I read down through the words, and it's like, you know, even some of the rough stuff that, you know, we've gone through it and shared, it just feels good. Like it's nice to know that on the whole, like the guys are doing well. Like that, doing well isn't an exception to the rule. That on the whole, even with the struggles and everything, like, you know, the guys are doing well. They're husbands and fathers, and, you know, like I said, we're graying up, we're punching up a little bit, and, you know, to be honest, we're looking pretty good too while we're doing.
The hell yeah, we are. That's what we do, buddy. You know, when I first started this show, I didn't think it would make the impact that it has. You know, last night on the rally point, I had Macaluso's wife. And there were a couple times when she was telling me kind of what this has done for him from her perspective. I had to switch just to her camera because I started tearing up because it's been so long, and to hear that one of the guys, because I've had my own struggles and I'm sure we all have, but to hear it from somebody that he cares about and is in his life now and saying, you know, I didn't know this about him. I'm getting a lot of messages from like wives, and I talked to Longnecker's mom. It has been awesome. It really has. It's a good feeling to know it's making an impact in your guys' lives.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Definitely, man. So for those of people out there that don't know who you are, sometimes I hit the mic thing here and it shuts everything completely down on my mic. But for the people that don't know who you are, introduce yourself. Tell kind of when you went to Iraq. Just a quick introduction of who you are.
Sure. I'm Michael Ferrell. I grew up in Georgetown, Maine. If you guys don't know where Maine is, it's kind of like Canada, just with a little less French. Grew up right on the coast. I mean, this has been home for 44 years. Love it. I went into the Army late. I first wanted to go in 2000 when I got out of school. Wasn't a good fit at the time. Came back in 2006. I'd been working for a while, and work was kind of so-so, and still kind of had the urge to go. So went and kind of talked to the recruiter offhand in Brunswick, Maine. Sold me on combat engineer. I'm going to be honest, I watched the video and I saw the guy throw the satchel charge in the bunker, and I'm like, I could totally do that. Like, that's what I'm going to do. Funny thing about that is they left out the whole part about landmines. Remember landmines? And you gotta go find with your headphones on.
Yeah.
Not cool. Incredibly uncool. Not my strong point. So I went in, I actually took what they call the Call to Service Act. So I got an 18-month active with 3 years in the Guard. So I actually came into the military already stop lost because by the time I went through basic and AIT at Leonard Wood and got to my unit, the unit was going. So I was actually held over longer than I was ever supposed to be in the first place.
You were the guy. You were the guy I remember now. We were like, how the hell you just got out of basic training?
Yeah, dude, I was supposed to be home in it was something absurd. It was like September. I think that I was September of 07. I was supposed to be done. Got held over all the way there into 2008, and then went and played the National Guard for a year and a half, which great group of guys, whole entirely different story with that crew, but freaking nice guys. Anyway, we had a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I listed like February of 06. Went to Leonard Wood, did the 14 weeks OSA playing in that clay. Do you remember the mud? Like the Leonard Wood, like red clay that never ever comes out. Like it's still under my fingernails. Like
Yeah, man.
20 years later. So did that, and then got sent to Fort Riley with you guys. And I got there, I want to say it was towards the end of July because the unit had already come back from NTC. You guys had already all come back from California. My first job for the unit was guarding the railhead down below because all the equipment was coming back, which was tough because the unit was already like ready to go at that point. The guys were already kind of like on that footing.
Yeah.
And most of the platoons at that point had already done NTC and were kind of starting to tighten up a little bit. It was kind of tough to like jump into the middle of that. But that's where I'm at, pretty much the whole crew that we ended up going over with. I had that little bit of time at Riley. And then I believe we left, what was it, like mid-September, early September, I think we were in Kuwait.
Yeah, I got to spend my birthday back here at home, and as soon as I left, we were shipped off to Kuwait, man. So,
Yeah.
so September, yeah. So
Riley was a real quick thing for me. I didn't do much Kansas time at all, and also didn't get to really meet a lot of the guys outside of first platoon because everything we were doing was they were keeping everybody close knit. So still, I mean, when we left, a lot of guys are still strangers outside of like my immediate surroundings. Before I met, like the maintenance guys, to really get to know some of you guys in second platoon.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because a lot of people don't understand, and I forget who it was. I've done so many of these now. A lot of the stories kind of run together, but forget who it was. Said that he came to the unit when we were was it Cahill? I don't know, but we were already there. We were already there, and he came to the unit, and he was like, it's very difficult to attach yourself to certain people, and you've already got that camaraderie together, and to expect somebody to just jump in, that's hard, man. It is.
Well, I mean, it's like not being at NTC, I wasn't there to see who lost their eyebrows, so I didn't have, I didn't have that like I said, that tightness, that real shared experience. So, I had to obviously chuckle about it as I heard it secondhand, which was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, man.
But like I said, I had nothing to do with it because I wasn't there yet. So.
So what was basic training like for you? I know for me, and I've said this on past podcasts, it was tough on me. I'd much rather be in Iraq than I would basic training. I freaking hated basic training.
Leonard Wood was miserable because we started in I think it was like the end of February. So it was still cold, still frosty, and then went into obviously to the heat of summer. Dude, it gets hot in Maine for like a week in the summertime. It's like kind of muggy, and it's like, like Leonard Wood towards the end of it, like Missouri kicked my ass.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's hard to say that it was bad, but it was, I think the lack of freedom that came with you didn't have any. There was no freedom. Like when you had your off hours, you were in the barracks, you were working on your stuff. It was like that. I think was harder than the actual training stuff they were trying to do to us. But it was the restrictions when you were done that, and I understand why. But
Well, yeah.
yeah, I think Iraq was actually like way smoother than anything that Leonard would ever had.
Iraq, you could actually, a lot of people don't understand this, but Iraq, once you were done with your job, which, we all went out and looked for IEDs, and when you tell people, their eyes get about this big and they're like, what the hell? But they don't understand that once you were done with that, you could go to the gym. You could, if you're at Anaconda, you could go to the pool, or the movie theater. You had your own free time to do whatever you wanted. Whereas in basic training, every single minute you're awake, it is controlled. Doesn't matter if it's the first day there or the last day there. There is always an eye on you, and it sucks.
It does, and it's like it's such a head game because as soon as you figure that out, like that it doesn't. The legitimacy of what they're telling you doesn't matter. It's the fact that they're telling you, and you go take care of it. Dude,
Yeah.
As soon as you wrap your head around that, it's easy, other than like the physical misery. But it's like it becomes such a really simple compartmentalized thing and some people don't get into it. Some people fought that to like the bitter end.
And those were the people that got us smoked.
Every time.
Every time, buddy. I just would rather Iraq. I'll be honest with you. I absolutely freaking hated it. I would do Iraq a million times over again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember what it was like hearing that you were going to Fort Riley? Did you know where the hell you were going? Because I didn't.
Well, I can tell you that Fort Riley was not in my 5 dream bases. When he gave you the wish list, Riley did not make the cut for the top 5. I did know where it was because I'm a pretty big Civil War buff. I was all through school, so was aware of the Custer connection. But still, dude, it's like I grew up near water, man. Kansas is like no water. It's like as far from you as you could possibly get from any like legitimate ocean. It's like literally like right in the middle. So that was surprising. And when you look at it on Google Earth, it's incredibly depressing. Because I checked it out before I went there, and I'm like, oh my god,
I'm gonna die.
There's literally nothing here. And the drive out, dude, from like Pennsylvania across. I can't remember the highway now, but basically, dude, we run basically straight west to Pennsylvania, and it's like, dude, no offense, man, and all you guys from the States that are out there in the middle, it's like, holy crap, it's literally like it's a cornfield, then it's a city, then it's a fucking field, and it's just literally a ribbon of blacktop, dude, all the way out to Kansas. It was a really kind of a sad drive for me, to be honest.
You're like, where's the ocean, right?
Yeah, dude, it was tough, man. But I thought that Riley, my first impressions, especially the old post.
I loved it.
Downstairs. Dude, the Kansas limestone, everything, the big buildings and stuff was like, okay. Like, all right, like this is cool. Like there's actually a pretty like serious amount of like history here. Obviously Custer's poor choices, but it's been around for a while anyway. But getting up to the troop area was getting up on the hill and everything and seeing, the barracks and just all the same company buildings, just was like, okay, this has got that like base feel to it, I guess. So, but yeah, it did have kind of a dismal kind of vibe too. There's like 4 trees, man.
It was awful. I remember, so Ohio isn't much better, I'll be honest with you, as far as landscape goes, okay? When I first rolled into Kansas, I seen like the rolling hills. I was like, holy shit, these are some big hills. Then all of a sudden, it just got flat, man. And I'm like, there is absolute, and I'm not a hunter. There's guys out there in our group that are hunters, fishers. That's not me. I wanted to go out to Manhattan Um, and send me to the closest place where all the college girls are, right? I don't care about fish and deer. Send me where the college girls are, man.
So obviously you figured out where Aggieville was pretty quick then.
I did. I didn't get too far out of the gate. I think my first night out was at the what was that called? Wild Zebra, maybe? Strip club right there in Junction City.
Oh, they're talking about Foxy's. All right.
It may have been. Well, not there not downtown Junction City. I think that's the one you're talking about. There was yeah, I got a story about that, but I'm not going to share it on the air.
Does that have anything to do with 50 Cent shot night?
I don't remember how much the shots were. I remember how much lap dances were. It was you know what, surprisingly I had a good time going out there, but it was still Kansas, man. I much rather would have been in Germany. I got to spend some time in Germany, but
yeah, I do remember that. You got your early vacation.
Oh yeah, it was, man, that place was great.
I'm not gonna lie, we obviously, we talked to Nick Crouch when he was over there with you as well, and it's like, we tried to be supportive, but it was hard to not just be a bunch of haters.
I bet you.
Like, oh, awesome! I'm glad that Germany's just such a great time for you, friggin' dinks. Like,
I promise you, me and Nick probably had the best time in Germany that anybody has had in Germany. Yeah, man, I got stories for days. I'm not gonna share them. I'm sure you've heard some of them. There's a
few out there that I picked up along the way for sure.
Yeah, when I forget when I interviewed him, I said, "Do you want to talk about Germany?" And he said, "No, not really." I was like, "Yeah, I bet you don't." So, when we got to Riley, you said that you weren't. Did you automatically know? Well, you had to have. If we were going to NTC, if we were already in NTC, you already knew that we were going to Iraq. But do you remember the first time actually knowing that we were getting orders to go to Iraq and what you felt like about that?
It was, yeah, I do, because I want to say they went around. They actually had the paper copies of the deployment orders.
Yeah.
Obviously they've been talked about this, because when I got there, I wasn't even sure, what unit I was going to and everything. So when I reported into the post, they set me up to the first engineers, to then was the 72nd MAC. They had just changed from Charlie Company to the 72nd. And having the orders in hand and finally knowing that, like, hey, like, this is a real deal. This isn't like, it might come on, it might come off. Like, this is like, we're actually going to go do this. Was really like a holy shit kind of moment. It was a very like pit of the stomach, like super anxiety, like, and then for me it was almost that feeling like I was stuck. Like, hey, there's no backing out of this. There's no like, yeah, like maybe this isn't really my thing. Like, you guys go. Like, there was, not that I wanted to, but knowing that there was not an option, was that we are going. We're going on this day. You're coming with us, and there's only a couple ways that you get to come home. So let's go. And that was that was there's sleepless nights in there for sure. And a lot of phone calls back home, and a lot of adult discussions. That a lot of us hadn't had to make at that point, like wills and squaring away anything you had tied into the States and setting up, your emergency contacts and bank information. I mean, all this stuff, like, made it hit home every time you made a phone call or you had to go get something shifted around or rearranged. It was like, this is really going to happen. Like, this is a real thing. Like, and that the reality was tough, and I don't think at the time that any of us talked about it with each other. There was obviously a lot of bravado, I think, that we all have, because obviously we're not gonna wimp out in front of the guys. We're like, wow, let's go over and kill a bunch of people. It'll be great. Like, we're gonna be the best. We're gonna be the awesomest ever at what we're going to do, without actually realizing what we were really going to do. Like, that the scope of our job was going to be literally 15 months of IED sweeps with some other kind of random stuff in between. But like, it was brutal, man. It was a grueling 15 months for all of us. Like, that's just, so yeah, at the time, holding that piece of paper in my hand, I mean, I had all that unknown, it was really tough for, I think, all of us.
Yeah, I get that the sleepless nights, because I signed up because my cousin died and I wanted to find IEDs because that's what he died from.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, man, when I first heard, because there was always a thought in my mind, like, we're probably not going to go. They'll not actually send us. But those orders that actually told us, hey, you're going to be in Iraq in the next few weeks and you're going to get what you signed up for. Then to find out that we're going to, because I found out in Kuwait that the place we were at was extremely, extremely hot. And it was like everything hit home then. I may not come home. And that kept me up. That really did a lot of things to me personally, just because I had experienced so much more before that, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think, when you said it was your cousin, that was, I mean, well, the gravity of that is pretty intense. And I think it put a lot of pressure on yourself that, you're not going to miss one. Like, that you have a chance to, I mean, dude, that's an ungodly amount of pressure to put on yourself.
Yeah, you should have seen my family. I mean, they had he had died in August 2005. We were deployed September 2006. So
that's crazy.
Now being a dad, it's like my son all the time, I want to be in the Army. And I'm like, dude, I'll be honest with you. I don't know what I would do if my son joined the Army. I think that part of it would be harder than actually just going over there and doing it. No, not knowing what's happening at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. My parents were hippies, a Vietnam generation. I had uncles that served. My parents both lost good friends of theirs from high school, that were killed over in Vietnam. And, and obviously knowing, the older vets and stuff coming up through, I think the only thing that we can do is, I don't know how your dad was with you. My dad was like, okay, like, you're going to serve. Like, I can respect that, and he was incredibly supportive of it. And I know that he didn't like it because I don't think any parent does. And especially with us having a more intimate idea of what really happens, it's, I mean, you almost got to let them check it out. They got 3 years to see if it's the wrong choice or not. But, I look back on our time over there and it's like, I can't necessarily say that Uncle Sam had our best personal interests at heart, while we were out there, and that's something that, I mean, as a parent, I mean, what do you do other than support them, even if you don't like it? But
no, I 100% agree with you. My views have changed since I've gotten a little bit older, right? I think all of our views have changed just a little bit. But I went over there and I just, I wanted to do the worst possible thing until we met some of the interpreters and got to talking to them. And I will say till the day I die, an Iraqi man changed my life almost as much as anybody else. Just because he gave me a different perspective and a different respect for the Iraqi people and stuff like that. And what they were going through, they had no option in the whole matter. They didn't know any. They
were living their life.
Yeah,
like they're literally just trying to live their life, and we're out there rolling through the middle of it. It's like they're trying to like go to work or go to the market, and we're out there running super aggressive patrols and clearing bombs and stuff off the road. And they're literally trying to like go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I can't even, as an American, obviously, how do we even wrap our head around that? Like, how do you even like live under an occupation like that?
Yeah. It's tough, man. And that's why, I've always said, I'm like, it really shocks me that a lot of us were, 18 to 24, and your brain hasn't even fully developed at that point yet. Now that I'm
obviously not, we all said yes.
I thought for sure that video looked so cool when the recruiter showed it to me, didn't it? I always tell people, I'm like, they told me I'd be blowing stuff up, not getting blown up. And
right.
I'll tell you something. But I also tell people that it was the best time of my life because I got to meet guys like you. I got to meet some of my best friends in the world, and I got to see different parts of the world and stuff like that. So you got to take the good with the bad. And I think that's another way I deal with things as well.
Yeah. I mean, and it's okay to have some pride in doing it because not everybody does it.
Yeah.
It's, we have a big joke in my house that, thank me for my service, you like to call it. But I volunteered. So why did I get to thank me when I was a dumbass that signed up for it?
I say that shit all the time, man. I'm like, I signed up for it.
Dude, my stepdaughter texted me, happy Veterans Day. Thanks for signing up.
That's great.
But, so we have but still though, there is something with that not everybody's gone and done it.
1%, man.
Yeah. And not everybody went and did what we did. And I think we're still having a hard time explaining that outside of our own group. To really, it's hard to convey the complete bizarre necessity of our 15 months that we were there.
It's still hard to believe for me, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Did you have a certain point? Because, for me, and like I said, a lot of this stuff I've said before, I had an old shit we're here moment, which was like the mud huts and the burkas and stuff like that. And it just was something that I had never seen coming from a small town in Ohio. It was like a culture shock. And did you have one of those moments that kind of stick out to you of, holy shit, I'm here in Iraq?
Dude, and I mean this with the respect to all the brothers, but Maine is literally like 98.9% white. And when, back in the earlier 2000s, they had sent, was a contingent of Somali refugees had come to one of our cities here. And it was this gigantic like uproar across the state. And it's like, everybody knows that Somalia was a shithole. So why wouldn't you want to leave there and go anywhere else? Well, we just happened to get them. And it was like, the city they dumped them in was predominantly French and super old school. And it was like, it was a huge culture shift here, but it's like the melting pot type cultural things that even in our cities just didn't exist, so coming into, the real deal, being like, obviously there's a little Hollywood in there too, and so once you kind of separate that away and it's like, how do you even wrap your head around it? It's like, I never felt more of an American then, because it's like, I don't even know how to even bridge this gap with anybody. Like the things that there's no similarities. Like the pavement's not even the same. Like it's at any real level on the fact that we were all humans, but it was a huge, whoa moment for me. And I think that was we convoyed from Anaconda to Warhorse, just looking out the window, rolling through the farmway. It was like, what even is this? And then where are the camels? There's no camels. And there's not even a whole lot of land. Yeah, it's like, like I said, there's a few little misconceptions in there, but it was like, this is some serious, backwoods, and still I don't feel like we ever got a super huge grasp on what was what, in the villages and some of the sections in the city is not really understanding what was even going on anyway.
No. And that first time we rolled into down Vanessa South, the buildings looking like Swiss cheese, man. And the burning, everything was burning at night. It was just the weirdest thing in the world. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, what the hell did I get myself into? Right? And at this point, you can't go nowhere. You better make it home and you better figure it the hell out.
Well, and I think, I would like to think probably just about all of us saw Black Hawk Down at some point before we deployed, right? So you're rolling into the city of Bakuba, which to us is like Mogadishu in the back of our head, right? And it's like every window, every balcony, every alleyway. And you're just like waiting for this like deluge of like hell to open up. And it's like nothing. There might be like 3 or 4 dudes hanging out on a corner, like, mom walking across the street, but you're like, it's out here. I know it is. Like, you're just like waiting for that one thing. And it's like, it did. Obviously, sometimes that did happen, but more times than not, it didn't. But you're still like, I know, like I just said, I feel like that's almost ingrained in us before we even got there. Is like, the amount that they didn't really want to throw down was a little surprising. Especially because I thought we made it pretty easy on them, to be honest, when you're rolling through like 15K with all your lights on.
Those lights were so damn bright too, man. You could see us coming from like 2 to 3 miles away. It was ridiculous. Getting into Iraq, there are different situations in Iraq that you got to see than what I did, because we patrolled the same areas, your Blue Babe, your Vanessa South or Predator. But are there any moments in Iraq that stand out to you, that stick out? You know what I mean? Like, this is what defines Iraq for me.
Yeah, there are a few. It was like, it's also hard to find the right way to word it. But there was one area over more towards Fob Gabe. So I don't remember what route it was off from, but we used to go to Gabe because Gabe had killed a breakfast omelets. So Gabe was a common stop anyway. But there was a group of naked kids that every time that we went by, if you ever talked to Sergeant Koger, check in with Sergeant Koger on this, because I know the kids always loved it when you went by in the Buffalo. But they would run at us and they would shake their mitts and they would hold their feet up and point at their feet and jump up and down. And that was our reception committee whenever we went over to Gabe. It was always the same group of like 5 or 6 kids. So that was one side of it. And then the other side, I remember the Iraqi police always stick with me because they used to ask us for ammo at their checkpoints. So they were either Iraqi army or Iraqi police. And they always asked us for ammo, or they were always like hanging around, not doing anything. And that always stuck with me from our time in the city specifically. That the sense of distrust that I found myself having for just about anybody outside of our specific patrol, and then it became our unit. And then it was like, I didn't trust the 3rd Cav at all. I didn't trust any resources the Cav had available. It literally felt like it was like 2 platoons plus our maintenance guys, like separated, completely insulated from like everybody else. Like, so like I said, I think about the Iraqi police. I think about the guys with no ammo and the naked kids holding their feet up at us. Which is funny because we throw candy bars and stuff back anyway. They had a great time with it. You just could never figure out if they just didn't have any clothes or if that was their way of kind of getting a rise out of us. I guess it's kind of hard to tell. And the other thing that sticks with me is, and this is the hard one, and I know it gets kind of dark kind of quick, is that they left the bodies out, and we would go down the road and there they would be, or what was left of them, just casually thrown in a heap of whatever, and there being people around. And there's people around. There's people like within the block. There's people walking by, and it's like, what was going on that was so intense that we can't even like we can't even like recover like this dead person. Like, is this person completely unknown to everybody that's here? Like, that we just leave them? Like, I always had a really hard time with that.
You know, I remember that too. You know, the one thing that I remember the most was, do you remember the gas cans?
I do.
That sticks out in my head more than anything in the world, and he knows what I'm talking about. Anybody that's been over there, they would cut heads off and they would stick them on gas cans, and people would just be walking by.
Yeah, we drove by.
And it just it goes back into what I've said for the longest time. It's so hard to believe that that's normal. Could you imagine as a kid walking by and seeing that? I know I couldn't.
No, and that's what I could never understand. And I think, we talk about like what was going on behind the scenes, like within these villages and in these towns. Like, was that a warning for us? Or was it a warning for another group that we didn't even know that was struggling for some kind of like behind the scenes Iraqi on Iraqi? Because they're right in the middle of, I remember the catchphrase in Super Bowl. I remember sectarian violence.
God.
Sectarian violence.
Yeah.
Which is nice because the neighbors are shooting the shit out of each other constantly. So was that even there for us? And then it's like, well, what do? You don't do anything. You call it in and you just keep going because it's not one of our heads. So you don't have to stop and pick it up.
Yeah.
And it just stays there on the gas can till some kid friggin' punts it. Right.
Yeah. It's insane, man. And, and we'll get into this here in a little bit, but then they wonder why we have the issues we have when we come back, because it's like, that's normal. Just keep on going. It's just a head sitting there, or it's just two guys handcuffed to each other, naked, dead. And it's like, I to this day that's something, and I've never talked about that either. That's something that sticks out into my mind. Going through. Well, I won't go there, but you picture it in your mind and stuff. That was rough.
Yeah, it was. And once we found out that it was, well, they made manuals for how to do it correctly. Al Qaeda made manuals for the proper application of torture, which were found all over the city of Aqaba, in the old city and the new city. And what we found on the sides of the roads, what we found that was discarded like garbage. I can't watch it, dude. I can't watch slasher flicks. I can't watch anything with any form of torture in it at all. Like, it's such a visceral reaction to me now, that only we saw the byproducts of it, right? We saw the end, and it's like, but you can't stop thinking about how long until they ended up tossed out on the side of the road. Yeah. And like I said, and also knowing full well that if it was any of us, it would be the same thing. That was it, man. That
got me, and I'm glad somebody else has said this, because my biggest fear in Iraq, and I don't know about you, but was getting caught in one of these ambushes, the vehicle being disabled, then parade my body around in the middle of town. Because I already seen how they dealt with their guys. What are they going to do to me?
Dude, when was the last time they ever did a prisoner exchange? Because I can tell you, because it was never.
Never.
Ever. So, they found Jessica Lynch in, what was it, 2003, I believe, or 2004. She was the one in the super high profile rescue. I think Delta went in and got her out of this hospital she was in. But for lack of better words, I mean, the Iraqis did not keep prisoners.
No.
Like, in the traditional Geneva consent of the word, they didn't, and we all knew that they didn't. I kept one round right behind my mag pouch on the left side of my IBA. I had one round tucked in my Molly webbing behind it. You know, so like I said, it sounds super gung ho to be like, oh, we're going to take me alive, but like seriously, like there was no such thing as being taken alive. Like not for very long. Anyway, and I mean, I think we all saw the pictures of the contractors hung up outside of Fallujah. We know obviously about the beheadings, disappearance of Sergeant Moffin, who was still missing when we were over there. They hadn't found him yet.
Yeah.
That, you know, that this wasn't, there was no peaceful resolution between us and them either. Like, especially as far as they were concerned. I mean, we did our best to treat prisoners as well as we could, knowing full well that would never, ever be returned.
No. Right? And even if something had happened to them, like let's say, so our rules of engagement in Iraq were, you know, if they were shooting at us, if we shot them, their weapon went down, we had to administer first aid to them. That would have never happened if it was the other way. And our rules of our rules of engagement were, for a lack of a better term, bullshit. It was bullshit. We all knew it was bullshit. And we've seen a lot of that when we went up to Spiker, how much bullshit. Because our hands were tied behind our back a lot of the time.
Yeah, they were. Spiker was tough. That was a really hard reintegration for us. You know, going back to a larger base with, you know, I'm pretty sure that I think the 25th ID was headquartered there. Big brass, you know, huge base, big brass rules. And those are things that we didn't have at Warhorse at all. Comparatively, you know, and the biggest thing for us was like, they at one point eliminated all warning shots on vehicles. They wanted pen flares only. I mean, how do you not do that? You know, when you've been doing it for 10 plus months, and that's what keeps you alive and keeps your convoy safe. Then you got some asshat in a base in an air-conditioned trailer saying, well, you can't shoot next to the vehicles because it hurts somebody's feelings. Well, it hurts my feelings to see my friggin' bros get blown up by a fucking beacon. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, sure, okay. I definitely won't shoot. No problem. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and that, you know, and it gets on my nerves because we were lucky. We had some of the best LTs there was.
Yeah.
They really had our backs. But you also got to think those LTs were our age. They just had a college degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had our backs, and if we were in a firefight, I don't know about your platoon. Actually, I do, because I love Rector. I absolutely love that guy. I was in Texas with him. We'll get into that later. But Lieutenant Bolton, man, he had no problem calling in Hellfires. When we got in a firefight, he would call in the Hellfires, and
that's what they were up there for.
Yeah.
That's
and
what they were for.
It was great, man, because you always knew that they had our backs no matter what, which was nice. But you had some officers that didn't want to go outside the gate, but wanted to tell us how to do our job outside that gate when they were in the back of the Buffalo if they went outside the gate.
Yeah.
Don't get me.
Yeah. No, I mean, we also dealt with that on a E7 level as well. With our first platoon sergeant, it didn't work out well. And I can't judge another man's reaction to combat, right? Because we all handle it differently. His reaction was what we all figured was going to happen, but we're still equally disappointed when it really did happen. Because he was an ass bag, dude. He was a complete blowhard, and he got his just desserts on, what was it, November 8th or November 6th. We weren't there very long, and his true colors showed. I mean, he panicked and screamed for, I'm pretty sure it was you guys, as it was your platoon leader, platoon sergeant, I think that was the one that got them out of there because he screamed over the radio, "Get us out of here!" And well, second platoon happened to be in the neighborhood and was able to go get him out of there. He said when you have somebody cowering in the truck, screaming on the radio while you have like an E2 or an E3 who's up there on the gun trying to send some lead out, and I'm pretty sure Jacobson took a piece in the hand, or took a round in the hand in that one. But he's up there trying to do business, and the guy that should be helping is down in the truck cowering. I mean, we had a really hard time with that. And it pretty much, I think, for that section of our leadership fell apart completely. And we could, once he was evac and gone, we could finally actually kind of get back to business again. But I was on the LT's team. You know, I was over on Rector's side, which is one of the things I think that actually kept me alive and got me through it, was that group of guys. And I'm not going to talk about, you know, the Bravo team. Obviously, we linked up towards the end of the deployment, but all that hard time, dude, we were cutting our teeth, was that one group of guys. You know, it was Nicholas Crouch, it was Jason Mark Culpepper, Jeffrey Anderson, Daniel Aguilar, Robert Dean. You know, Dean is my man. I love Bobby, like almost uncomfortably so. I kept telling him, you know, things are legal made if you ever, but he's happily married. I'm happily married, so you know, our life worked out great. I got to see Bob in October. It's always so good to see him in and check in. I know I'm missing some names too. We had Derek Almendarez, AZ. We used to call him AZ. Was in there with us. And Dennis and James, he was my roommate there for a while. My favorite Indian monkey.
Yeah, buddy.
But you know, but that group of guys, with the addition of Todd Gillitzer, Jeffrey Barden, you know, Sergeant Barden was my TC for most of it. LT Rector, of course, Sergeant Cleveland, Tyrone was in there.
Well, I want to tell you something. I love that guy. I really did. There were guys that stuck out to me. I didn't even know Crouch that well until we left Iraq. But Clevo, man, that was one of the best guys. Was Crude up with you guys? Or was he in the Bravo?
He was. I can't remember. I believe that we had Griffin. I think, but dude, I have such a hard time now just keeping those names straight. That's what I need guys like Nick and Culpepper to try to fill in those blanks a little bit. Because I think we had Crudo, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Don't you remember him saying, "If I'm lying, I'm flying, and I'm not growing any wings today"? I love that. We had some of the best guys, man, and you know, going back to what you were saying between your Alpha and Bravo team, it's sort of like where we had the first squad and second squad. You stay close to those guys that you were out on mission with every single day.
Yeah.
That, you know, I love Carton. I love Zorro. Zorro, everybody loves Zorro, man. But we had good leadership inside of our squad. The other squad was great too. Don't get me wrong. They stuck to their squad too. I think we all did, to be honest with you.
I mean, after a while, dude, those are the only guys that you're on schedule with.
Yeah.
You know, and you start realizing, you know, the couple of times that we flip flopped, or you know, we would backfill or reintegrate. It's like the other team ran different. It wasn't that it ran right or ran wrong. It just ran different, and it didn't feel right. You know, and it was the same. You know, we had. I'm trying to think with our NCOs. I mean, we had. I think just about all of our E5s and E6s were on their second tour, their second deployment. I think Sergeant Rainbow and Sergeant Snyder, I think, were on their third, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so we had. Like I said, I mean, Todd Gillitzer and Todd and I, he's just. I love Todd. Todd's one of my favorite people. That was one of my favorite people over there too. And Sergeant Barden, who I didn't keep up with at all. I mean, dude, I spent 10 months in the truck with the man.
Yeah.
But I credit him as being one of the biggest reasons for me not re-enlisting. It never totally talked me right out of it. But I mean, we had great conversations, man, and wild stuff about people's takes on things, and the difference between what was going on in Georgia versus what was happening up in Maine. Uh, but all of our NCOs brought so much previous experience with them, and I think a lot of them at that point, like I remember Todd, like I said, I love Todd, were just done, dude. They were just done with it, and it's like. And it's really hard to be motivated when you look at, you see these guys who are your inspiration that are going to carry you through this. They've already been where you are and gone past it. And it's like, man, like, I don't really know if really sticking this out and doing a couple more tours is really, I'm really super motivated to do that. And as the months rolled on, I mean, I would think we would have one of the lowest retention, units wise, I think. We had a lot of guys who were like, yeah, no, we're done. Like we're out.
Yeah. I mean, but rightfully so, right? I mean, exactly what you were saying.
Want to chance it again?
Not at all, buddy. Not at all. I'll tell you what, I rode in the truck with Sergeant Buck, and I love that guy to death. I really haven't been able to keep up with him. But he was such a good NCO. He had your back, but then he acted like your best friend in that truck. And to be honest with you, if you're in a truck with somebody for 10 to 12 hours a day, going fucking 5 miles an hour down the road, and that the extent of your excitement is maybe 0.5 seconds of that IED going off, you get to know these people. It doesn't matter if they're an LT. It doesn't matter if they're a first sergeant. Now our first sergeant was a little different, but you get to know these people and you get close to them. But Sergeant Buck was one of the ones that told me, he was like, you've gotten hit a lot, get out, because you're going to come right back here. And if he wasn't, he was right. A year later, the first engineers was in, I believe, Afghanistan.
Yep. But the thing is that there would have been no guarantee that we would have stayed with the first engineers. And that's why I didn't re-enlist, because the unit had to stay home for a year, not the soldier. That there was a really good chance that we would have rotated home and been immediately ETS'd to another deploying unit, because the surge was going on then. There was a good chance that most of us would have been back in country within 6 months after coming home. And I didn't really want to roll the dice on that.
I didn't know that. I had no clue about that.
That was what I was, like I said, this is dated information now, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But that was the impression that I was under, because I think about, you remember Placenik came over to do comms with, he'd come from, I want to say Korea.
Yeah, I believe so.
Korea. And then found stateside and then went right over to Iraq. He was only home for like a month or two before he went off to do a whole nother hitch. So that was my biggest worry, was that if I re-enlisted, that it wouldn't matter what duty station I picked, because it would be anywhere that there were engineers, and I would have come right back or been back within. I would have had to go back. I think the moral of that story was, after doing it and making it through in pretty good shape, I really just want to roll the dice on that.
we all made it back. Well, most of us made it back in, I wouldn't say the exact same shape we came in the country with, but I'll tell you what, it was hell, man. And that, in videos before this, I've said, people, you hear about the Ramatis, you hear about the Fallujahs, what people don't understand is Bakuba was like, what was that called? The Caliphate? They had named Bakuba the Caliphate.
Oh, the Caliphate? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
The city or whatever.
See, he's a lot smarter than me, so I search for words here.
Well, see, I remember Bakuba because that's where they killed Zarqawi in 04.
Zarqawi. Who the hell was I talking to? It was Zarqawi, yep. I forget who I was talking to, and I said that. And I was talking to somebody else, and I'm really bad at, remembering who I was talking to. But at one point, they had between 3,000 to 4,000 Al-Qaeda fighters there in Bakuba. That's a lot. They did. And then they had that training center on Detroit, on Route Detroit, where going back into Plesnik. Plesnik was on that Buffalo that got, oh man. God, I was right behind that vehicle when it got blown up. I heard a lot of IEDs. I've never heard one like that. I thought everybody was going. Copperstone, Plesnik, and Stinnett. And Stinnett got, I think Stinnett was the only one that got medevaced out. But God, man, that place was ridiculous.
Yeah, and it was big stuff, and it was constant, and it's like, you know, when you're doing road patrols to literally open the road, it's like you develop a schedule. Like they knew it was a guaranteed thing that we're going to come through there, and they throw stuff out on the way in. We go down, right? We'd go to the end of the patrol route or whatever, right? We'd flip around. They'd already thrown shit out behind us after we rolled through. So then we'd have to go clear our way back again. And it's like, and then once we left the road, what do you think they did after we left? They threw more shit out on the road. Like it was, dude, at one point, I think we did, it must have been 3 or 4 months where I want to say it was around Sergeant Wright getting killed, somewhere in that time frame, that we had patrols running almost constantly. We didn't shut the trucks off for days. I know you guys were running it too. It was a ridiculous tempo of just trying to be out there, and we were still having fines, you know, dozens, 20s, 30s. Like the numbers that the guys put up was ridiculous, and we didn't find them all. Like we still missed stuff. Like, and still, it's like I don't really know. Other than keeping vehicles, like keeping our own guys safe, it's like, what did we really do other than soak up all that for everybody else? I mean, how many patrols used to go past us? Remember, we'd be clearing the road and the units would go out around us and keep driving. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, you know, that the road's hot, like but you're still just going to take that risk. And, you know, we come up on them down the road. Yeah. We come up on them down the road, friggin' pasted, or doing some kind of, you know, trying to get their vehicles back on the road and stuff. And it was like, yeah, some of that stuff just got, at one point, we just got so burned out, dude. And just so, like, it was like a never ending spiral of just the day after day after night after night after night. And the same shit in the same places and the same ambushes and the same bombs. And it's like, what? Like, I swear to you that went on, I feel like 3 or 4 months. Maybe it wasn't, but the chlorine gas was in there too when all that was going. Like,
you know what most people don't understand though is, and I don't know if you've seen this as well, but when we would go down a route, and going up to Gabe is where I seen it a lot, you know, you would see the IPs and the IAs come past you. So you'd be coming down this way and you've already cleared that route, and the IPs and the IAs were coming back down this way, and you'd flip around damn near 2 minutes behind them, and guess what you would find? You'd find an IED.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so not only were you looking for, you know, Al-Qaeda, but you had to keep an eye on these IAs and IPs. That goes into what you were saying. We only trusted each other. I knew that if somebody from First Engineers was coming with us, like First Platoon was going to be there, okay, I trust these guys. IPs, IAs, no. Nope. No, because they could be bought. And that was the biggest thing. And then once you throw in when Sergeant Wright was hit, you know, with the EFPs, man, maybe it was your guys' squad that went down. I think it was on the, was it Taco? That you guys were out there for like, oh man, I don't know if it was your squad or not, but found like 12 or 13 IEDs, and you guys were out there forever. It was right after they started talking about the EFPs.
That may have been, like I said, I mean, with that tempo at that point runs together into so many. I mean, but we'd be out, you know, slated for a 6-hour patrol, dude. We'd be out there for 16 hours. Yeah. Trying to clear. And there was really no like replacement. You still had to drive back from wherever you came from. And like I said, we didn't even shut the trucks off because we pull in and the second team guys would go out and we'd rack out for however long. And if they had a long patrol, that was morbidly good because we get to hang out longer, rest longer. But they had an easy one. We're down for 4 or 5 hours and we're back out again. And if we find stuff, it's another 16 hours, 18 hours. We did do one that was around the clock. I can at least one that I can remember going from sun up to seeing the sun up again, trying to get back from wherever we were, and that was all friggin' day, all night. And then well into the next day by the time we made it back. I mean, we were actually so grungy when we got back, they wouldn't let us into the chow hall, which is kind of a separate story and separate time of us almost locking and loading on the chow hall guards so we could get some food.
Dude,
but where'd you run?
Especially where we were at. I've heard that story there at Anaconda, but I do remember that the first cav, their sergeant major, he was real cool in the very beginning, but then you could tell he was getting bored because he would pick at your uniform. In Iraq, not too many people cared about your uniform unless you were at a bigger base or a bigger fob like Anaconda. I didn't give a shit if your uniform was dirty. You care less. Go get something to eat. You've probably been out all damn day.
Just wash your hands. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? You had brought up something before we started recording that I kind of wanted to get into, which was something that I've said before as well, is when you're out, when your squad is out on a mission and you're back at the fob, squad gets into shit, that feeling you get of, damn, I'm not there. You wish that you were. Can you go a little, because their squad got hit by a really big IED. I kind of want to get into that story for a second. And you and Dean were back at the fob. Can you go into that a little bit and what you thought about it and kind of your feelings behind that?
Well, initially, we had been coming off that high tempo. Bob and I crunched the numbers, and we've been somewhere, it was in the high 40s or low 50s that we had been on with no break in terms of days on patrol. So we finally got a rotation that somehow it shook out right because Wade Poncho decided to come over, filling in, I think, as a gunner that day. And Poncho always wanted to come out with us. He was always stuck in headquarters, so any chance he could get to ride, he was always down, which is good because we actually got a day off, which was super cool. So yeah, Bob and I were just in the tent, just kind of hanging out. And I don't remember who came in or if we walked over to headquarters, but word came out that the team had been hit. The LT's truck had been hit. That they called in the medevac. Obviously, we didn't have any status at the time. The feeling of helplessness, the desire to want to go grab a truck, and run right out there en route and grab whoever you can along the way. But I think what settled with us, with Bob and I, we talked about this when he came to visit, is that if you were there, maybe it wouldn't have happened. If I was there, it wouldn't have been Poncho, or if Bob was there, maybe they would have seen it, or, all these numerous million different options that could have happened. And you weren't there. So it's like, there's almost like a weird kind of blame that you almost give yourself, because this was a situation where like the team needed you, like you guys needed you, like somebody was hurt out there. We didn't know how bad LT Rector was hurt. We just knew they called in a medevac, and we knew at that point, what the IEDs could do to us and to our vehicles and everything. So it's like a medevac was never a good thing ever, and so once we managed to put the pieces and everything together, eventually you come to that realization that it probably wouldn't have mattered, if we were there or not there, that it was still, that was the time that was going to happen, and but that day, dude, sitting in the tent, that feeling of utter helplessness, man, was like, you just pace. You just pace and you wait. You hang out in the talk and try to see what's going on the radio. Try to listen in. Try to see if they're getting ready to send a QRF out. If you can go along with them, like it was really tough. That was a really long day for us, just waiting, and waiting to hear the names.
Yeah, and you always think about the worst possible scenario too, because I know that with the whole Sergeant Wright thing, we weren't out there, and I think you guys probably got the same feeling with Sergeant Wright as well. Right, when you lose somebody out there, and then you're taking a day off, and you hear that your squad is in the shit. And it is the worst feeling in the world, and it sounds so morbid, and it sounds so like stupid to say, I want to be out there. But when you spend every last minute with these guys, you want to be there. You want to be there with them. You don't want them to be going through this shit by themselves. You want to be out there, and if something bad happens, you know what? At least you're together. And that's I think that's the one thing that most people will never understand, is that people, they don't get the brotherhood. The brotherhood is spending 15 months in a place that nobody else wanted to be. Nobody wants to go to Iraq. Let's be honest with ourselves. But we all go through that feeling. But if your brothers are out there, you want to be out there because you want to be able to have their six, and you want to be out there to make sure that they're not going through everything that they're going through alone. So that IED that hit LT Rector, Griffin, and Poncho was awful. But then to see it on, what was it, Al Jazeera had it. It was on YouTube.
It was right there. We used to go to it was ogrish.com before it became LiveLink.
That's
and
what
we used
it was.
to go, dude, it's still on there. I guarantee you, it's still there.
If you can find that, I don't know if you can. I'll look too, because I can't get a hold of Poncho. And Poncho,
Poncho,
I love that guy.
Yeah. If you go to, I believe it's livelink.com, if it still exists, I think if you type in IED dialysis, there's all kinds of them. There's one of us getting hit. Hey, Sophie Barker. There's one of us getting hit on there as well. We just turned around and they smoked us on the return trip. But yeah, the one with LT Rector, because after it was done, they filmed the hood. And they filmed
did something.
Yeah, Culpepper put the PA system on there. They had the Made in USA sticker because they used to play the ice cream theme song through, as well as other Choice musical. They had that Made in USA sticker on the back of it. And they really fixated on that when they filmed it. It's like, on the grand scheme of things, dude, they blew the hood off. But they did. It messed up LT Rector's knee, I know for certain. But what they presented was not what they actually accomplished. They made it. In terms of survivability, we were just starting to figure out TBI, and that stuff then. But it's, that was actually used that as propaganda. I'm telling you, dude, you guys are on there too, man. If you can search it, we're there. We're the only ones driving RGs in Diala.
Well,
so
I'll get on there and I'll look, man. I might piss me the hell off. Might see the face that blew me up.
As soon as you hear that Al Qaeda theme song or whatever there in the beginning, I know it's gonna boil you. It gets me every time too,
dude. But that, and then we're going to get into the next segment of this. But there was something that I had in the Dropbox that Carton sent me, and I think it was from your platoon. I'm not sure which squad it was from, but maybe you've seen the video. But you're sitting they're sitting in the middle of Bakuba, and no trucks are moving. And then all of a sudden the call to prayer comes on and the streets are dead. And I'm like, I had my son here and he was like, what? No, what is that? And I was like, that's the start of a bad day. I was like, nobody's out on the streets. And that's
You
how
know the voice. You hear that voice that's there, stay down. That's Sergeant Snyder.
I'm gonna get shot.
Get down. Get down. Get down.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
that was a little ways past the traffic circle.
Yep.
Right down to the middle of Bakaba when that kicked off. Sorry, I'm fighting with my dogs while we're doing this. So
I got 3 of them, buddy. I get it.
I got two are plenty. You're good ones, so. But yeah, so the call to prayer was always because we use the civilians as a gauge, right? If you rolled out and they're out heading to market and they're working in the little fab shop on the corner and the taxis are running, like everything's cool. We went out not too long before they was it Operation Arrowhead Ripper when they went back into the city. That dude, there was nobody out.
Yeah,
there was nobody. There were no civilians. The checkpoints were empty. We found 2 different checkpoints on the route with bullet casings and blood and nothing, no trace of anything. So we don't know if the guys ran, if they were taken. And how do you get that information? We don't have that information. Like you call it up, right? You call it in and you keep going. Yeah. And it's like, dude, there was nobody. Like we're looking back through the alleys or looking down through the sides of the streets, man, and there's nobody there. It's like, so obviously it's like, it's the middle of the day. You know, it's like, you're talking about a sense of like, like
no, you're good, man. That was something else, man. I'll be honest with you. And I remember that because any other time the city was hopping. I mean, imagine it's a big city, and imagine going down your local, like you live in Ohio, like I do. Imagine going down through downtown Columbus and nobody on the street. I don't know the big cities in Maine. I'll be honest with you.
Our biggest one is Portland. That's like 66,000. That's our big metropolitan area.
Oh, you guys are just huge up there in Maine, ain't you?
Yeah, we're right up here, dude. It's like only 2 million in the whole state, dude. Like nobody lives in the middle at all. If you like way up north and the rest of us are on the coast, it's good living.
Gosh, man. Well, listen.
Dude, the emptiness was wild. Like, and the quiet, dude. You remember how like it was absurd, dude. There was no anything. Yeah. You just heard your own trucks running and nothing. Except when if you got that call to prayer. Like I said, I take it back to Black Hawk Down, dude. It's crazy. And whatever you hear, it just brings that instant like, oh, like this shit has got to go down. Like,
yeah, and you know what's. If you remember this, we had interpreters with us every single patrol. And the reason why we say call to prayer is because there were times where it sounded like the call to prayer, but that's not what they were doing. They were letting them know exactly where we were, but they were making it sound like the call to prayer. And the only way we knew that is because the terp in the back was telling us, hey, they're telling them where you guys are at. Or where we're at. So, yeah, I'll tell you something, man. This has brought back a lot of memories because these are some of the stories that I haven't even went back on yet, and it's cool to get to remember some of these things and the feelings that you get when you were there. moving on from Iraq, man, you know, a lot of us have had issues and stuff like that with whether it be PTSD or a lot of us got hit multiple times. Have you had the struggles? And if you have, can you share some of those with us?
I came home in what would be, I believe, March or April of 2008. I got done ETS, left the unit, came back to Maine. I actually had my job waiting for me in the shipyard to return to. So it took about a month off before I returned to work. Um, Driving was hard. Driving was super hard. Still is sometimes because I drove 98% of my deployment was driving an RG for just about all of it. Like I said, I drove Sergeant Barton in dialysis about the whole time. Drove LT Cochrane, drove Tampa, all around Spiker. Um, a really hard habit to break. And what was really tough for me, and this is what I would catch myself doing, is we ride down the road and would go to say something to my gunner, which is usually Bob. Sometimes it was Danny Aguilar. And well, you look over your shoulder, dude, it's just the back seat. There's no legs there, you know, because you always had, you know, their situation was always like right behind your head. So you turned around and you were eye level with their business, you know, and to not have them there was like, well, crap, you know, or to realize that I'm swerving around garbage, you know, I'm not straddling potholes regardless of their size. Watching the edge of the road where the road was chipped up or where they had done all that stuff, dude, curbs, like, or a missing piece of curb was like, I never even, uh, I, they warned us and told us to be careful, but never really conveyed what that meant. Um, Crowds were kind of so-so. For me, it was fireworks. Fireworks are still I go every fourth, whatever we can. We always go and watch them. Um, I had flashbacks the first few years going, even like getting myself like psyched up and getting like ready for them, knowing that it's going to happen and not being able to be there, not being able to be under it. I've had some breakdowns and not being able to get away. Fireworks are legal in the state of Maine. My neighbors use them often in the summertime, and it's tough, man. You know, it's I know it, like I know in my head, like these are fireworks. Um, our bed upstairs, my wife and I's, is not on a frame because I used to throw myself out of bed to the floor, like when that stuff would go off. So, you know, now it's only like a foot and a half to the floor, which is a way softer fall for my old ass than the previous tumbles.
Don't want to break a hip.
Dude, real. You know, and so I went to the VA in early 2009. Work was tough, dude. Coming back, I worked in an industrial environment. It's jumpy, dude. There's bangs and clangs and thumps, and it was like constantly on edge. The guys, you know, they like to play around, they like to horse around. I never thought of myself as a jumpy person until I came home. Turns out that I was. Um, that's been one of the few rules in our house is that we don't do the jump scare game with me. And I don't do it to anybody else because I can't handle it done back to me. Because for a long time it was a completely violent reaction. It was a completely subconscious reaction to hurt whoever jumped me, regardless of age or gender. So that was tough. That took years. I mean, it's still an ongoing thing. It's something that I'm constantly, you know, we have a good dialogue in my house. My wife is phenomenal and incredibly understanding and asks the tough questions that I think a lot of spouses need to ask of their service members. You've got to be able to ask those questions. You can't tiptoe around it, you know, because we owe honesty to our partners as well. You can't just like, oh, I'm having a rough one. Like you need to break down like why it's rough, and it's okay to talk about it. Like even if they don't understand, they can understand the emotions behind it. So sorry, I got a little off track. Yeah, I went to the VA to see a doctor so I was looking to get family medical leave through the shipyard. To get diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, which I've continued to have. I re-up it every year. But I did not follow through with the VA then. Had a weird pride thing. I had a weird, like, either there's guys that need it way more than me, or I wasn't messed up enough, or I was too tough enough to not need it. And it, they're constantly, these are our children. Our kids are all in their late teens now. So
it's okay, man. I totally understand, man. I get it.
it's, just give me 1 second. I'm
Yeah,
just
you're
go over
good.
here, take care of this. So, there. No, we're going to put the ball away for a little bit. And they're great. You just can't beat them like you really want to. We love them so much.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow through with paperwork, and I should have. I should have gotten a rating. I should have gotten my ears checked out. But dude, I wasn't ready for it when I went to the VA and started talking about my inability to sleep, my driving issues, the fireworks, my reactions. And of course, like everybody said not to do, I drank when I came home. Surprise, right? Big surprise there, right? Everybody, yeah. Heavily and often for about 2 years, about 2 straight years before I started kind of reeling it back in and realizing that it was not doing me anything at all. For a lot of repression, it was good for repression. But when it came out really ugly with like lots of like really gross crying, and like it was messy, dude. It was like seriously a messy time. Time helped. Talking about it helped. Understanding that it's there, it's a part of me. When I sleep, sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. The reactions are still there sometimes. It's a combination of certain things, kind of like everything aligns just right, and it's you get a flashback, you get that super high immediate anxiety, kind of like you got to take that second to be like, now I'm here. Like it's not, it happens less, but it's still, some of the stuff just doesn't go away, and I think for me, that was a good radical acceptance, is that you can't make it disappear. You can't drink it away, right? You can't pretend it isn't there. Recognize it, and it kind of stays with me. It kind of stays in that kind of compartment, in my head, that was then, and these are the things that happened then, and this is now, and I like now. Now is a pretty good thing these days. It's
Peace.
Good family, incredible life. Like peace is a beautiful thing, and just being home is peace. I think that's what a lot of these guys seem to forget, is that you're home. Like you made it through, and now you just got to recognize that. And it's okay to have made it through. It's okay. It's okay to be home, and it's okay to have the damage that we have. Like it is damage, and it's part of it. It comes with such a traumatic emotional experience, and that you're not the only one, that we're all lugging it around in some capacity, and but you don't have to let it define you. I think that's the key. And a lot of guys, they live off almost like a badge, and it doesn't have to be. Like it can be just a sliver of everything else that makes you like, the person that you are.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I know me being one of them. And, going to the VA, and I've heard this over and over again, I'm okay. There's more people out there that need it more than what I do. And at the end of the day, that's not what the VA was for. And it took me forever to figure that out.
I'm just coming around to that myself.
Yeah, man, it's a tough road, especially with the road that we went through, right? You look at somebody like me and Crouch that went from, and there were others as well, but went to Germany, and they were trying different medications on us.
Mm-hmm.
Then shipped us off to Texas. Let's try these medications. And you were almost like a guinea pig. And then when you get home, the problem becomes I don't want any more medications. I don't want to feel like a zombie. And then that's when you pick up the alcohol. And I partied for a while when I got home, man. And I will always credit my ex-wife for, yeah, she saved me, man, because just being with her and my kids as well, because they saved me as well, because I had no direction in life after Iraq. Because see, I when I was in high school, I played baseball, and that's what I wanted to do all my life was play baseball. And then, you know, I wanted to be in the military, so I thought the military was going to be it. Now what do? I'm running out of options here at the age of 23, right?
You're getting old, man.
Yeah, I know. Now looking back on it, I'm like, there was so much more I could have been doing.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people struggle, and just because you're on a show like this and you can talk about it, doesn't mean that you're out of the woods and you don't struggle with things, because we all do. And I think this is a really good outlet for us to just talk about the shit that we've seen, man. And, you know, LT gave me some advice on the VA and sharing resources and stuff like that. Sergeant Washburn, same way. Does a lot of good, man.
Yeah, it totally does. Like I said, I was wrong with my first take on it when I came back. And that was when, I mean, for myself, I should have taken it then. I should have gotten involved then. But the biggest thing that scared me away, and this is the irony, was group therapy. Was that they wanted to, and dude, I didn't want to sit down with a bunch of other guys and talk about whose deployment was worse than another person. Like, that's what I thought it was then. That's what, you know, 25-year-old, 26-year-old me was looking at. Like, I don't want to sit down and be like, well, my deployment was really tough. No, yours was easier. Like, and that's what I thought it was. And it's like, what are we doing right now, dude? What are you and I doing right now? Like, and the same thing with the group chat with, you know, the guys from maintenance and Mac and Cahill and Longnecker and Bob. And, you know, it's like, that is group therapy. Like, we're seriously like right in the middle of it, you know. Yeah. And it's like, but, you know, then I scoffed at it like it was, you know, so like I said, it's a seriously misguided pride for sure.
Yeah, but that was ingrained into us too, man. You know, you're fine, move on. Charlie Mike, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
drink water, drive on.
Yeah. Hey, you're just dehydrated. Listen, man, it's been great talking to you. I got one final question for you, and I ask everybody this. And I want people to listen to this. If you could give one piece of advice to maybe somebody out there struggling, whether it be from our group or another group that was deployed in, you know, combat, what would that advice be?
You know, the struggle versus success, you know, it's when people talk, we always we always talk about the good stuff, right? Like, we like to build ourselves up, but you know, being home is a success. Like, the fact that you made it, you arrived home in pretty good condition, all things considered, to all the ones that didn't come home and the guys that had to go to the hospitals, and, you know, but we all carry stuff, right? We all carry. It affects us all different, dude. Every aspect of combat, the things that we've seen, affects everybody differently, and it's okay. But if you're struggling, it's, you know, we're all here, right? Like, we're all here. There's always somebody to listen. But being home is a success. Like, looking at, you know, a lot of us have already stared 40 in the face, you know, and are on the other side of it. You know, I'm 44. I was a little older when I went in. It's like, you're still here, dude. It's almost like 20 years later, and you're doing it, you know. And, you know, we're fathers, we're husbands in a lot of cases, or maybe we haven't been very good at that. But you're still doing it, you know, and it's super important to just, success is coming home. is you did a good job over there. You made it. You came home. The guys you were close with came home. Most of us, it's the bulk absolutely did, but if you just like each day's a new day, right? We wake up, we drive on, and you get through it. That's how you get to get old. That's how you get to get gray and fat, is you keep doing. Look, so you get the gray and the fat. Like you just got like a little bit of the gray, but it gets better, dude. It's like I look at it where I was a couple years after coming home, right? We were almost 20 years into it, right? We keep saying it, 20 years. It's like, look back on it, dude. Look back over those 20 years and be like, I had some really low lows, I had some real tough spots, and there were spots that's like, we didn't think we're ever going to get out of. It's like at the time it was like, some of us have had, thoughts of ending it, but it's like, but you didn't, and you're still here, you're still doing it. Like you went to bed, you get up the next day and you get out there, and then before you know it, the years just roll by. Like that is a success, like in and of itself, dude. Like it's just being alive and still continuing to do it is a success. And we fix it a little teeny tiny bit at a time. Like,
it's 100% agree with that. 110% agree with that, man. We're gonna make mistakes. We're all human, but the fact that we get up every single day, we take care of what we got to take care of, is something that shouldn't be just thrown to the wayside. I think it should be celebrated as that is success.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be things that you struggle with that I don't struggle with. There's going to be things that I struggle with that you don't struggle with. It doesn't mean that we're not struggling. But we're all still 20 years later figuring it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we still want to figure it out. So, well, listen, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. It has been great talking to you. It really has. And I'm excited for this episode to air. And each week, last week I didn't do an episode. And the group chat, if you noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but the group chat went kind of quiet. I'm like,
yeah,
it did, man. And I'm like, shit, and then I figured out, like, I felt like something was missing with me too. I was like, God, this has become amazing. And it's something I look forward to every week because I get to reminisce with you guys, get to know your guys' stories and how you guys are doing. I'm proud of you. You're doing great. And thanks again for being on, man. I really do appreciate it.
Dude, I mean, thanks for extending the invite. I mean, I really appreciate it, and it's, we could do this for hours and hours and hours, man. We're still haven't even getting into the good stuff. But like I said, I don't want to name drop right off the bat.
You dropped a couple names that nobody else wanted to drop, but we.
Like I said, the guys that are watching this and listening, the ones that know, they know. They know that I know.
Yeah.
But dude, it's what you're doing is really an amazing thing, I think, and it's. I hope that other people take it, outside of this group, and use it. It's important. Like I said, what you're doing is more important than just a rap session for a couple hours. I mean, for a lot of us, this is there's some real legit healing going on here. And it's nice to see that it's transcended. These almost 20 years now, that it's still, that we still got it. That the guys are able to communicate and share that stuff and take joy in where we're at now, as well. It's pretty awesome.
I appreciate that, man, and that's the one big thing that I hope to accomplish here is giving more people a platform to be able to come on and just talk, because I think we can do a lot of healing that way. So.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
All right, brother.
I agree with you, man.
All right, brother. Well, listen, go take care of those dogs. They want your attention, man.
Always.
It was great talking to you. Thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, Ted, thanks for having me, man.